When people lose a pet, they often hear phrases like, "It was just an animal. You can get another one. At least it wasn't a person." But emotionally, the pain rarely matches those words. Because psychologically, losing a pet is not the loss of an animal. It is the loss of a relationship. And not just any relationship, but one built on constant presence, routine, and unconditional emotional safety. For many people, a pet is the only being in their life that is there every day. Not occasionally, not conditionally, every day. They are there in the morning, in the quiet moments, in the gaps between responsibilities. They witness life without judgment. This kind of presence creates a bond that the brain processes as family, not because the pet replaces a human, but because it occupies a unique emotional role that few humans do. Pets offer attachment without expectation. They do not care about productivity. They do not track success or failure. They do not keep emotional score. They respond to tone, routine, and presence, not performance. From a psychological perspective, this creates what is called a secure attachment, a relationship where the nervous system feels safe. Safe to be quiet, safe to be imperfect, safe to simply exist. For many adults, this is the only relationship in their life that functions this way. That is why the loss cuts so deeply. Another reason losing a pet hurts so much is how integrated they are into daily life. Pets are not occasional events. They are habits, morning walks, feeding times, the sound of movement in the house, the weight beside you when you sit down. When a pet is gone, you don't lose one moment. You lose hundreds of micro moments. The brain is forced to notice absence again and again. The bowl that stays full, the door that no longer opens, the silence where there used to be sound. This repeated confrontation with absence keeps grief active. It is not a single loss. It is a loss that reappears daily. This is why pet grief often feels long and exhausting. Another overlooked factor is emotional regulation. Pets often act as emotional stabilizers. They absorb stress simply by being present. Touching them lowers heart rate. Routine interactions calm the nervous system. For some people, pets are the primary source of emotional grounding. When that stabilizing presence disappears, the nervous system feels exposed. The world becomes louder. Emotions feel sharper. Loneliness feels heavier. This is not weakness. It is biology responding to the loss of regulation. There is also something unique about the way pets love. Their affection is not complicated. It does not require explanation. It does not demand emotional labor. They do not ask you to be someone else. This creates a form of love that feels pure and reliable. When that love is gone, the brain struggles to categorize the loss. It does not fit into familiar social scripts, which leads to another painful layer: grief without permission. Society often does not give people space to grieve pets fully. There are rituals for human loss. There are shared rules. But pet loss is often minimized. People are expected to move on quickly. This lack of acknowledgement creates what psychologists call disenfranchised grief. Grief that is real, but not socially validated. When grief is not validated, it becomes internalized. People feel ashamed for hurting, confused about their reaction, alone in their pain. This isolation intensifies the experience. Another reason pet loss feels like losing family is the role pets play in identity. For many people, being a pet owner is not a hobby. It is part of who they are: caretaker, companion, protector. Daily decisions are made around this role. When the pet is gone, that role disappears too. The person is not just grieving the pet. They are grieving the version of themselves that existed in that relationship. This can create a subtle identity gap. Who am I without this responsibility? Without this routine? Without this presence? This identity shift is similar to what happens when someone loses a close family member. There is also the issue of helplessness. With pets, owners are deeply involved in care, feeding, protecting, watching for signs of illness. When a pet dies, many people replay moments. Could I have done more? Did I miss something? This sense of responsibility makes the grief heavier, even when nothing could have changed the outcome. The brain looks for control in loss. When it cannot find it, it turns inward. Importantly, loving a pet does not mean loving humans less. The brain is capable of multiple attachment systems. Pet attachment is different, not weaker. It is built on constancy rather than complexity. That is why losing a pet can feel simpler, but deeper. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quietly devastating. Over time, many people notice something else. They don't just miss the pet during emotional moments, they miss them during ordinary ones. That is often when grief hits hardest, because the relationship was woven into normal life. Healing from pet loss does not mean forgetting. It means integrating the absence, allowing the routines to change, allowing the bond to remain, even without presence. Grief does not disappear. It softens. It becomes quieter. And eventually the love stops hurting and starts comforting. People who grieve pets deeply are not overreacting. They are responding normally to the loss of a secure attachment. They are mourning consistency, safety, unconditional presence. In other words, they are mourning family.